Great. Thank you, everyone. Anna and I have been compiling a list of all these resources for months and trying to learn the ins and outs of a range of programs, and really excited to share this with you as a resource. There is a ton of content in here. I might go through some of the slides quickly to get through them, but know that all the content is here that you'll see on the slides, and there's also a Word document in development with resources that will turn into a client-facing handout. And so just as a caveat, we aren't professional administrators of these programs. We've gained and learned what we can and ask questions, but many of these programs do have nuances to eligibility and criteria that contractors may know better than us, or we might need to ask questions. So tonight, we're going to share what we can, but fully expect there might be questions that you all have that we can go find the answers to. And some of my background in what we're going to share is I'm an energy efficiency and clean energy researcher trying to increase participation in some of these programs. And I had the chance to work on an energy burden and affordability study for the Office of the Public Advocate last year, and got to investigate some of these programs and learn, what energy burden looks like in Maine, and how far we have to go to close the gap and connect people with these resources. So a couple sections here. We will certainly talk about energy-related rebates, grants, and resources for the types of projects you're mainly coaching on. So Efficiency Maine rebates, Maine housing programs for weatherization assistance and heating repair, and a Midcoast Habitat for Humanity program. We're also going to talk about home repair services and grants, because that is a very critical part of bringing older homes up to date on all of the health and safety repairs that are often needed before weatherization, insulation, and heat pumps. And we're also going to talk about this broad category of energy assistance, which could be payment assistance, direct credits for bills, help paying bills, et cetera, where we have Maine housing programs under this HEAP name, which is an acronym for Home Energy Assistance Programs, and there's a bunch of things there. And then there's Central Maine Power Rebates discounts. So we'll go through each of those, and I'm actually going to start, we're really going to focus on low to moderate income homeowners and renters tonight. So we're actually going to start with the energy payment and bill assistance section and finish with the rebates, just so we really make sure we cover all of the low and moderate income offerings here. So low-income households in Maine face an energy burden of about 14% of their income, which is about 3 times the average in the state, and Knox County has the third highest low-income energy burden in the state. And talking with a range of low-income households and service providers, high energy bills mean mainly just a lot of trade-offs every month. Am I going to pay my rent on time, or all of it? Will I pay for medical care, medical debt? Will I pay for food? Will I fix my car? Will I buy gas or child care? So a bill you can't pay, a surprise bill, has all these ripple effects. There's also health impacts of people not being able to live in comfortable temperatures if they don't want to pay high heating bills or high cooling bills, or they don't have the ability to upgrade equipment to keep those bills down, which is where you come in, and certainly have spoken with a lot of health providers who are increasingly concerned about how hot the weather is getting in the summer, and people living at home without cooling, and very interested in heat pumps helping health vulnerable folks. And then obviously a lot of stress comes with late payments and shutoff notices, and also the ripple effect of deferring home repairs. So all places where energy upgrades and bill assistance can close the gap. But just to set the stage of why we're here and why your job is so important for closing this gap, most low-income Mainers have not yet participated in weatherization or energy upgrades. So these charts are all my best estimates of cumulative participation. in weatherization, central heating improvement, heat pumps, and heat pump water heater offers for low-income homeowners probably for the past 10 years. And we haven't quite hit 20% of homeowners in this income category doing this. So a lot of opportunity. Molly.
Clarifying question about the term low-income mainers. Is that something that is defined someplace that you're going to show that? Okay.
Thank you. Yeah. Yes. Low participation in these programs. Heat pumps, for example, I would say moderate to high income homeowners, about 30 to 35% have maybe installed a heat pump, and we're looking at maybe half that for low income households, so a ways to go. And then this next chart is participation rates of energy assistance programs. So the one on the left is participation in the Central Maine Power discount program, which is referred to as LIAP, which is a low-income assistance program, and I'm going to talk about that. So a lot of eligible people not participating in that, and that is one that if you're in any number of state income qualified programs, you're automatically eligible, so this is one we'll talk about. And on the right is participation in HEAP, the Home Energy Assistance Program that Penquist and other community action agencies run. So all of these to show a lot of folks, don't know about and aren't participating in these things, and these have real economic value to households. Okay, so now we'll get into the definitions. So low-income households, and this is the general definition, then we'll get into the efficiency main definition because the definitions really do vary by program. So generally, different programs' definitions of low-income households are intended to be households earning less than 60 to 80% of the state median income or less than 150 to 200% of the federal poverty line. And that's about a quarter or more of the state, depending on the definition. And moderate income households are generally intended to be those earning 80 to 100% of the state median income or 150 to 400% of the federal poverty line. So the federal poverty line is actually a lower number than the state median income. And so about maybe 30%, I would say, rough estimate of the state. So more than half of households in the state fit into one of these categories. Moderate income is meant to be households around that 100% of the state median income. So it is medium, moderate, average income. And this is important because a lot of people might not resonate with that term or know that they qualify, which makes your job important to make sure folks are seeing those guidelines.
An example to these things because you hear them all the time and you have no idea what they mean.
Yeah, we'll get there. I think probably the most, I didn't include every table of every program because it varies by program, but this is the current efficiency main thresholds. So they actually define on the left low income as not dollar value, not dollar limits, but people who are already enrolled in income-based state programs. So they're giving an extra rebate level. And this is all about the level of rebate you get. You get the highest rebate level if you're enrolled in one of these state programs, which is HEAP, the Home Energy Assistance Program, SNAP, Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, which is food stamps, TANF, Temporary Assistance for Needy Families, and income-based main care for medical insurance coverage. And that's mainly because they're not generally doing direct income verification. They're using the Department of Health and Human Services programs to kind of check verification. There is one program, which is I think the Manufactured Home Initiative, which we'll get into, that they do income verification. And then for anyone who isn't enrolled in these programs, the next check is whether their adjusted gross income is below one of these two levels. So if you're an individual filing singly or as head of household, and these are all on the Efficiency Main website, and we'll have these in handouts, we'll have a handout for clients about this. if you're an individual filing singly or head of household, it's up to $70,000 for 2025 was the threshold, and the limit is $100,000 if married filing jointly, and that's to receive the moderate income level. So those things on the right are for the moderate income level. So questions on those thresholds?
Amanda, can I come up there?
Yeah, sure.
I just wanted to add in that I found out my experience in this is basic. Excuse me. It's mostly personal experience, like trying to use these programs as a pretty low-income person, and so that's where I'm coming from. And I found out that the main care also includes people who are on the Medicare Savings Program or the buy-in, which is, those people might not think they're on main care, but they are, and they're also eligible for this. So that's just an obscure thing that I know, and now you know.
And we can't find it on the website. So that's an example of one of many potential exceptions that might be out there to be discovered.
So for a moderate income rebate, does the client need to supply tax forms to Efficiency Maine?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so we can help them figure out how to do that. Yeah.
All right, and so this next slide is about Camden and Rockport, which might have a reputation of being higher income places, but when you really look at, full-time residents, those who are filling out the census as if they live here year-round, we're actually not that different from the rest of the state. So the chart on the left is how there's only a few measures in the census you can look at. So the chart on the left is the dark color is approximately the low-income population using the federal poverty line as a threshold, 150% of it. And the lighter color is folks who might be moderate income. And this is just based on like one measure. It's imperfect. So you see that we're pretty similar to the rest of the state there. And what is that? So over 50% might fall into lower moderate income. And the chart on the right is just looking at that with another data point because both are imperfect. And through that measure as well, probably over half of our communities among full-time residents, owners, and renters might meet one of these thresholds. So a lot of people can benefit here. All right, so now I'm going to get into energy bill assistance and discounts, starting with HEAP, the Home Energy Assistance Program, because this is kind of a core benefit or core program that can unlock some of the efficiency and repair related programs through the state, which offer comprehensive and free services. So on the left, HEAP helps pay for heating fuel, including firewood, oil, electricity, and gas. And qualifying households, you do have to go through quite a process to qualify. It's easier if you're already enrolled in a Department of Health and Human Services program. The benefits go directly to the heating or electric company, and average benefits are about $500, give or take, depending on the household for heating season.
I was surprised to learn that the nearest community action program is Penquist in Bangor. Do they have a local office?
Oh, yeah, they have a Rockland office.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But, okay, so, good.
I just want to say one more thing about HEAP is that it takes a while to get an appointment with them, and you can only get an appointment with them when they have funds, and when the funds run out, they start testing people's eligibility. So it's kind of like in the summer things get kind of iffy, and in terms of when you need to help people get HEAP, it's not just a continuous thing, and it takes a while to get it together.
Yeah, truly. Yeah. And so we have slides about that process.
Sometimes people don't think they need the HEAP, but they might need some of these other programs, so it helps if they apply for HEAP if they're eligible.
Yeah. Yeah, so there are other programs which we'll also talk about more are the Weatherization Assistance Program, which will do a wide number of building envelope repairs, work on heating and cooling systems, install heat pumps, and install energy efficient appliances. Then the Central Heating Improvement Program is for any non-heat pump things, so furnaces, boilers, with opportunities to repair or replace them. And they also have a home accessibility and repair program for structural repairs and electrical work that might be needed before weatherization and insulation. All of these are subject to change at any time. I can't say what they will be in 2026, but it's my understanding that we have secured a reasonable level of funding for HEAP for next year, but the specific buckets that will be funded, I'm not sure. I think main point here is that there are pretty comprehensive and free services available, and HEAP is the way to at least have someone start understanding what else they could qualify for.
And do you want to talk about the waiting lists on these other programs?
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, I guess I will. So the Weatherization Assistance Program and these programs here are, at least that one has like a long waiting list. And it may be useful for people to try and sign up for it, but it's not like an instant thing with tons of money that is available quickly.
Yeah.
But it is a really great program in terms of what it can do if you become eligible and get the work.
And we'll talk about what it can cover more. Thank you. And then for HEAP itself, I think Anna called them recently, and they said that the wait list for HEAP itself is about 2 months. But interesting thing there, if you do qualify for that season, it's my understanding that winter payment is interactive. So it's really looking at what your bill would be for your whole heating season. If for some reason you don't get an appointment or get enrolled until March or even April, I think it goes that far, you would still get the same benefit you're eligible for. It might be more retroactive. So really important to, help someone, encourage them to schedule. They can call Penquist to schedule, or they can go online to schedule an appointment. Maine Housing also has an online form, but we've been told to recommend that people go through Penquist's online form. I think it's easier if you're already enrolled in other programs. And that relates to the point on the right, which so folks who are enrolled in SNAP and TANF are automatically eligible for HEAP because their income has been verified, but they still have to enroll. They're not automatically enrolled. And that's similar to a lot of things. You might be automatically eligible because you're in another program like these, the CMP discounts are another example, but you have to take a step to enroll. And those not enrolled already in a DHHS program can document gross income. And folks will also need electricity and fuel bills because they adjust the payments based on what you're paying. Okay, I'm going to go talk about one nuance here. So the heating payment that HEAP gives is only for a single fuel. So if if someone's majority oil or majority propane, great. They look at your oil bills or your propane bills and give you a payment based on that. Unfortunately, and this is true nationally, you can't cover both an electricity and a fuel bill. If your primary heat is electricity, you can certainly say, I want HEAP to go to my electricity. But if for some reason you get heat pumps and you still keep using your fossil fuel heat, if you don't switch all the way over to heat pumps, you can't get payments for two fuels. You have to kind of choose a fuel. Paul.
Just a clarification on that. Does that mean, just for example, say you get half of your heating from heat pumps and the other half from oil? does that mean that the award they give you is based on how much of that fuel you use?
Yeah, they'll only look at one fuel. So say you're using a certain amount of oil
Yeah.
and your heat benefit was a proportion of that. Then you get a heat pump and your oil use is cut in half and your electricity use is another half. You have to choose whether they're going to look at oil and electricity, and they'll take pay just a proportion of that.
So it's almost like a disincentive for heat pumps.
And yeah, unfortunately, yes, unless someone really says, I'm going to really change over to heat pumps and use it as my primary heat. But a half and half thing, people might end up getting a lower amount of benefits. And that's a problem. Many states have brought that up. All right, so next I want to talk about these utility discount rates. Versant offers them as well. For CMP, it's called the Low Income Assistance Program, and it helps with utility bills. And it works as a monthly credit, an automatic monthly credit on your bill. And they kind of figure out the proportion and what that amount is. There isn't a table really showing you what you get. It's kind of customized a little bit. And it does, I didn't put the income limits here. If you are enrolled in a DHHS program, so SNAP, TANF, I think there are a few other ones, income qualified main care, you are automatically eligible, but you still have to enroll. And folks might get a letter. DHHS sends letters out every year saying you qualify, but you still have to enroll. So you might encounter people who have received this letter, but they would still have to either go online to enroll or enroll through your utility. If you're enrolled in HEAP, Penquis will help you enroll. And actually, I need to check on this. It might be that you have to be enrolled in one of these other programs to enroll in LIAP, but we'll check. And in addition to income-based bill credits, there's also bill credits for homes with medical equipment, oxygen, ventilators, and that's called the Emergency Lifeline Program. And we'll have the resource document that Anna put together. We'll have more of this information and links. But this is also a valuable benefit that provides year-round benefits. So in the work that I did for the OPA, we kind of estimated last year the average value of these benefits per household is over $500 for participating in HEAP and maybe $325 a year for LIAP. And then there were some other benefits for weatherization and efficiency but we'll hopefully be getting our own estimates of these things as well. Okay, and I think we're almost done with this section on utility benefits and discounts. There are also programs for managing late payments and accumulated late bills and overdue bills, which has the beautiful title of arrearage management. But it is actually a great program. You can talk to CMP and create a payment plan that's kind of a reasonable payment plan. And as you pay it down, if you're making regular payments on it, you will actually start to receive credits and bill forgiveness for on-time payments. So it's worth it to try to call CMP and work it out. There's something else within HEAP called the Energy Crisis Intervention Program. And these are for folks on HEAP who might still face an emergency, not be able to pay for fuel delivery or be at risk of electricity shut off in the winter, because you might be receiving the HEAP benefit, but it might still not be enough for you to pay all of these bills. So if you're already enrolled in HEAP, you could call this program. And then I think there's a number of other local programs which I know there are in other counties that can help people with emergency assistance. The town general assistance programs, one of the things they can pay for is emergency energy bills. And folks can access emergency general assistance through the town clerks in each of our town offices. AIO also offers energy assistance, and we're still looking into some other programs. So questions here? Hanging in, great. Okay, and then community solar I did put in here in this discount category rather than solar because it is a discount. In most cases for what we might refer to as commercial community solar, commercially operated, the discount is only on electricity supply costs, so not your whole bill. And the discount might be 10 or 15%. And it's not a variable 10 or 15%. You'll sign up and they'll tell you what there are. And that's a number of community solar providers in this state. The OPA maintains a list of them. I think we have some folks in the room who are bigger experts than me on this, but you might be in a situation of helping people think through options here, or call these companies. And often I think it is worth a call to a company someone's interested in for them to call and really understand how it works, because I will say the billing, is complicated. For the commercial solar providers, you do get two bills, which can be confusing and hit at different times and have maybe hard to predict payment amounts. But it is a form of a discount. And then Anna has been looking into the Maine Community Power Co-op, which the discount is on supply and transmission and distribution, so on a higher portion of your bill. The discount for low-income households is 20%, and I think we said all income, it's 15%.
And they give preference to they give preference to low-income people. They're building out more little farms, but they're in their beginning stages. So they have 2 that are either open or about to open, and they're giving preference to low-income people right now. And they say that they, unlike the commercial solar farms where you might get your credits 2 months later, so it's very confusing. They can connect it up with your CMP bill, and I think you can actually get 1 bill instead of 2 bills if you want to. So it's a pretty good situation. It seems like what they're trying to do. And if they have extra money left over, they will put it onto people's discounts. So definitely worth checking them out.
Yeah, and I think this issue of when exactly bills come, if the credit is 2 months delayed, it really is meaningful because folks are really trying to figure out how to pay their bills at the end of the month and what their bills would be. So some people really might want to know when the bills will come and when they'll get higher or lower bills to predict them. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about home repair needs and some programs for that as we get our way into weatherization, insulation, and heat pumps. So a little bit more about the Maine Housing Weatherization Assistance Program, which, as we said, you need to be enrolled in HEAP to qualify for. On the right is a diagram of all the different things that they could work on, including mechanical measures, health and safety measures, mold and moisture there. They can work on some electrical things, building shell measures, very similar to what Efficiency Maine rebates, and electric appliances. So pretty comprehensive measure lists that can be worth $10,000 to $20,000 of essentially free work if you can get in. But it's, as Anna said, it's a long process and there's layers of eligibility. When you apply for a HEAP, you're automatically considered for this program, kind of going on the wait list. If you are, deemed eligible based on income and some other criteria, it would start with a comprehensive energy audit. And then they score eligible households based on different priorities for energy burden, poverty, older adults, and young children. So it isn't kind of equal. It's not that everyone enrolled in HEAP has an equal chance. You might have a higher or lower chance depending on these scoring criteria. And another factor here is that income eligible households may be deferred if there are too many structural or health and safety issues, and we'll say what those are. But on the other hand, the program can cover a certain amount of repairs, which is one of its values. Yes, everything is paid for once you're in. It's just these other trade-offs of a long wait list and eligibility. So I'm going to put that aside for a minute as something we're talking about as a program, and I want to talk about what we can learn from all of these audits that the Weatherization Assistance Program is doing, because these audits are really auditors looking in the homes of low-income households for what's happening and what repairs they might need. And so this slide is about common reasons for deferral for that program, which are also important barriers to weatherization and heat pumps for folks trying to go outside of the WEP program, for folks trying to work through efficiency main. So worn out or leaking roof can be deferral reasons, unsound structural issues, animal or insect infestation, unsafe mold, mildew, or moisture, hazardous or outdated wiring, asbestos vermiculate, and unvented combustion appliances. And these, could be present in any main homes and a lot of older main homes. These are just issues. Oh, go ahead.
I don't get why worn out or leaking roof would be a reason to not do it. I thought that the building shell is part of the qualified expenses.
And to some extent. So I don't think replacing a roof would be covered by another program, but just to there might be another main housing program. This is just deferral reasons for that program. But I do want to say, these are also barriers to weatherization through efficiency main. So the idea is we don't want to either pay for or rebate something that might be put in a place where it doesn't have an effective useful life of at least 15 years or so. So we don't want to pay for insulation in a roof or attic that might get degraded or need replacement. So I'm listing these because these are kind of things to look out for as you're going through homes or talking to people.
You've got a large list of other there, like 25%.
Yes.
That's kind of a broad category. Seems a little random.
Yeah, this is the best. I've talked to the main housing folks to get any better data than these counts, and it's not available for this program. But I do want to share, I think what's more relevant maybe not be the percentages, but kind of what the requirements are for that program. So just know, the things on the left are kind of requirements that would cause a deferral. And on the efficiency main insulation form, this is on their website. There's a form on their website that shows what they call health and safety requirements, but these would be barriers to getting rebates. And it has a lot of the similar things, asbestos containing materials, knob and tube wiring, unvented appliances, exposed ground or water observed in the basement. Fire protection issues. So there are some common issues that would be deferral reasons for the state program or efficiency main, which are all things to look for in forms, and also indicate home repairs that are generally things people might want to do. So next, just getting into if those issues are found that could be barriers to a number of these things, how to fund home repair. So if folks are going through the state program and would otherwise get deferred for the Weatherization Assistance Program, some folks might be allocated funds through another program called the Weatherization Readiness Funds. And Cynthia, this is to your question. It's a little bit complicated because those funds aren't always available. So sometimes a roof might be a deferral reason, but sometimes you might be able to get it repaired through this program. So it's just, there's some uncertainty in what the state programs can fund year to year. They do have also a home accessibility and repair program that will work on repairs and also provides mobility and disability access. But again, there's definitely uncertainty here. So
that's also a very generous program if you can get into it, but it has also a long waiting list. And apparently WAP didn't have such a long waiting list until recently, but now, we're losing funds and stuff, so it does. And the home accessibility and repair program is something that could really help whoever gets it to get their house ready to do more weatherization stuff. It's basic repairs, but it's another like a year-long waiting list at least to get into that. At least a year. And it changes.
So locally, we're still trying to find funding options here. Midcoast Habitat for Humanity has an incredible repair, weatherization, and modifications program. Anna's been speaking with them, and we'll talk more about that. And then still trying to investigate or hear about anyone else who might want to, provide funding to fill the gap for home repairs or efficiency.
Or people that might want to volunteer, groups that might want to help.
Question. You're giving us a lot of great information, very helpful information. It's a good summary. Is this all going into a manual that we will have access to?
Yes.
All right. Thank you.
And you'll have access to this deck as well. All right, so more about the Midcoast Habitat for Humanity program. People who live in Knox County are eligible, who earn below 80% of the area median income, and they do have a priority system to give priority to seniors, people with disabilities, and people with urgent safety concerns. This is a pretty broad-ranging program. They can cover roof, plumbing, and electrical repairs, mitigating mold, pests, and lead. They will perform air sealing and insulation. They can provide interior storm windows. They are installing some heat pumps, and they will do kind of repairs and modifications for mobility aids, ramps, grab bars, and a couple of other things. And they'll handle the contracting for that. And this is an emerging program with kind of growing funding that we're learning about.
So normally Habitat for Humanity has volunteers doing the actual work, and maybe they have an employee who's a manager. Is it different here in that Habitat is actually hiring professional contractors for people?
Anna, do you know the answer to that?
I know that they hired someone recently, and I don't know if it's a contractor with a company or if it's going to be someone who leads volunteers. I do know they got a big grant recently to do this program, and I think we might be applying for a grant that could help to cover Camden and Rockport people that they would administer and to do this. That's all I know.
All right. All right, so next big topic that will be, something you're dealing with a lot, which is the efficiency main rebate structure. And it is unfortunate we're doing this in December when things could change next year, but this is like the best of our knowledge today, and we'll look out for updates. So first we'll look at insulation, heat pumps, and water heaters today. So this is the basic structure for insulation and weatherization rebates, where the rebate is proportional to the project cost up to a cap or upper limit. So for low income households, so again, that's those folks already enrolled in another state program, in HEAP or a Health and Human Services program, they can get 80% of the project cost covered up to $8,000. And then moderate income is a little bit lower, 60% of project cost up to $6,000 for the project. And then any income, or if you can't necessarily prove your income, 40% of the project cost up to $4,000. And another interesting thing, in general, contractors can either have the rebate come to them and folks can pay their contractor just the net cost, or not all contractors do that, and sometimes the homeowner is responsible for the rebate and submits the forms. It's kind of a mix. I think in general, homeowners are applying for, I think this is maybe a question for Brian of what's happening. You don't necessarily, have the rebate automatically taken from your insulation project unless you're low income, which is what we'll talk about.
There are some contractors that just do it. They take care of the rebate for you, and you don't have to fill out anything. So it's worthwhile when people are looking for contractors, if they can't front the money for the rebate, they can check out contractors that will take care of it for them, or if they hate doing paperwork or something like that.
And then low-income households, if you do qualify, are not expected to wait for the rebate. They'll only pay the difference between the project cost and the rebate. So that 20% they'll only have to pay out of pocket 20% or anything above that $8,000 level. All right. So a few other requirements to receive the insulation rebates. The homes must be heated during the entire heating season. So it can't be a seasonal home that someone is shutting down. New construction is not eligible for insulation rebates. So this is meant for retrofit work. And it must be an owner-occupied primary residence to receive a low to moderate income rebate. Otherwise, you receive the any income level. So if you're a landlord, even if you have tenants who are low and moderate income, the rebate is more about you than the tenants. So you could use the rebates for rental properties, you just wouldn't get the higher income level.
So if you're a landlord, could you get the rebate on individual properties or just once?
I think it would be for per condominium or building. So it looks like it's at the building level, but these are single family rebates, which I think Efficiency Maine considers to be 1 to 4 unit properties. We can check on that. I'm not showing the commercial rebate levels. At some level of the number of units per property, you qualify for the commercial rebates, which are a little bit different.
I'll just add that condominiums, so 1 to 4 units is considered a single family, or is considered a resident, but a condo is not commercial. You can have 80 units and still be residential units, unless you own the entire building.
So then it would be per unit, yeah. These are good questions. As these tricky things come up, let us know and we'll try to get them answered. And we have contractors we can ask as well who do this every day. All right. And another consideration here, actually some health and safety work, so what it might be called health and safety work or pre-weatherization work, can be rebated, but is capped at 25% of total air sealing and insulation. So it could be, small repairs or, putting blocking around recess cans or something like that, like preparatory work. I don't know if that's a good example. We can ask Brian and others for the details on that. So I think, as we've talked about, there are these two pathways for low-income households to receive insulation and weatherization. There's the state weatherization assistance program if they have heat, or they could use the efficiency main rebate. So the state program is free if you can wait and you're eligible and scored for the program, and it can be free, worth a lot, and comprehensive. Or you can get efficiency main rebates and not have the full project costs covered, but have 80% of the project costs covered. So question might be, what should we advise folks to do? And I don't have a clear answer. Maybe others have a clear answer, and this might be worth asking if it comes up. But, it might be a question of the timeline, willingness to wait, and how comprehensive of repairs they might need or other resources they might have for the repair. So I think this could be a good question for Penquist if people start talking with Penquist, and possibly for contractors if you meet them or clients meet those who have advised people through this process. So worth exploring. I don't think we have like a program answer at this point on what path, but want to keep investigating. So next I want to talk about heat pump rebates. And again, I'm going to just show the rebate levels, and then we'll talk about the requirements to get these rebates, which have some nuance in them. So currently heat pump eligible heat pumps are 1-to-1 systems, 1 indoor unit per 1 outdoor unit. So when they say these numbers of $3,000 per rebate eligible outdoor unit, they're assuming indoor-outdoor are 1-to-1. So it's just basically per heat pump, per ductless mini split. So lifetime limit or per housing unit limit of $9,000. So that would be the low income limit there. Moderate income is proportionally a little bit less, rebate of $2,000 per rebate eligible outdoor unit, up to $6,000 per housing unit. And any income is $1,000 per rebate eligible outdoor unit, up to a lifetime limit of $3,000 per housing unit. So these limits might not always be enough to fund every single heat pump in a home, given that some homes are installing more than 3, depending on size. These rebates cover both equipment and installation. It's kind of all in one because, go ahead, Ray.
Is this federal tax rebates, or is this
Yes,
efficiency
good
main?
question. We're in efficiency main. I didn't even cover any of the federal rebates since they're going away at the end of the year.
Oh, okay.
It's as maybe they're not, but my understanding
So this
is
would
yeah.
just be for efficiency.
This
main.
is just efficiency main.
And when it says so 9,000, I'm assuming that's 3 outdoor units. Can
Yes.
they install those all at once, or is it that uses up their lifetime limit?
Yeah, so it's a lifetime limit, so they could do it sequentially or over time. Okay. Yeah.
The other thing about these rebates is that they're, they need to cover your whole house. They have to become your main heating system. So that's another criteria.
And we'll talk, we have details on that.
Okay.
Yeah. Correct.
Okay, I just want to make sure I understand this. Could you? This is by housing unit. So does that mean if you buy a house and someone has already gotten a rebate on putting something in that house that you no longer have that shit available to you?
Oh, good question. I think it's by the person, but we can check that. Okay, per housing. Okay. Okay, we should check. That's an interesting one because they were put in under different program rules. Like this rule might not have applied, but we'll look into that. Yeah.
From what I understand, when I had my heat pumps put in almost 2 years ago now, you were required to literally shut off the installer was required to like put a lock on your emergency on-off switch for your oil
Yeah,
system.
no, that's not
And then before mine were actually finished installing, that rule changed.
correct.
So
So,
you can keep the old system, but I think they were required to show that the installation was going to provide most or almost all of your.
correct. Yep. Well, yep, correct. So we'll get to that in one more step, but is that, okay, let's do that now, and then let me go back to one. So, well, I do want to say this first. So the rules you're talking about, all the rules we're talking about whole home coverage are for moderate and high incomes, or to get the full amount of this low income amount. The one exception is that low income households who don't want to go the full route of having the heat pumps cover 80% of their heating load can get a rebate for a single heat pump through a somewhat different program called a supplemental heat pump. So the rebate level is the same. It's $3,000 for a single zone heat pump, but only one is allowed per home. And this is, like, my understanding of this is if they might want 2, but the home would need 3 to qualify as whole home, you would kind of have to choose between 1 or 3. But this is an option if someone doesn't think they want to do their whole home and really wants to add a heat pump in their main living space. This could be a great option because it could provide a lot of the benefits of a heat pump. I've certainly heard from contractors that simple open space ranch homes, you can put one heat pump in and cut out a lot of your fossil fuel consumption. So that might end up being cost effective to go this route than pay the extra money to put all the bedroom heat pumps in. This could be a question for contractors of like kind of what the cost benefit is for like a ranch home or something.
My question is, and you may have parking lot this question as well. Houses that are, say, single-story ranch with a daylight basement that's finished, is that considered the daylight basement? Is that considered
Living
whole home
space.
or not? Because it is below grade.
Yeah, that finished living space is a great question. So let's table that question as well of what the home definition is of where it needs to provide heat. That's a good question.
Along the same lines of just using one unit, none of this has been designed yet for window units, window heat pump units, right? Is that right? We're not doing any of that yet
not
in the
yet.
state? Okay.
Yep. Those are certainly being tested in other places. Yeah. All right. So next I want to talk about this sizing thing, because this might be something you coach people on that people could get confused by. So yes, for most incomes to get a rebate and to get a rebate for more than one heat pump, the idea is that Efficiency Maine wants the heat pump to be able to be their primary heat because, as a state, policy drive behind this is getting off of fossil fuels. So the idea is let's size heat pumps so that it could be your primary heat, so you can try it to have it be your primary heat and you only use other fuels as backup. So the rule, and there's worksheets on this, is that the sum of all the installed heat pumps, including older heat pumps, must cover at least 80% of the home's peak heating load. So they have some cold day math for that. And that heat pumps combined with supplemental heat, and there's a definition for supplemental heat, must be sized for at least 100% of the home's peak heating load. So primary fossil fuel systems can remain and can be used for emergency backup. And I think I'm saying, so think of this as primary and central fossil fuel systems. So furnace, boiler can remain and used for emergency backup, but their capacity can't be counted toward the 100%. And the allowed backup to count for the 100% is more like point source space heat. So allowed backup to go above the 80% to the 100% is a wood stove or pellet stove, electric resistance heat, or oil, propane, or kerosene wall furnace. So So I think big picture takeaway here, and I'll get to your question for sure, is, we're trying to have people be able to test out and see if the heat pump can do everything. There's different sizing calculations. Contractors are very aware of the sizing requirements and the sizing options. I think kind of the key message here is that, the rebates are really to get whole home heat, and the rule is for 1-to-1 indoor and outdoor units.
My question is, why is the focus only on 1-to-1? Because there's plenty of applications where you can have one compressor and 2 to 3 exchangers.
Yeah, there certainly are, and they rebated those for a while, but I won't get into technical details, but I think they were deemed as maybe not efficient at kind of managing load. I think we could get a technical definition from HVAC folks, but I think there was a determination that for efficiency reasons or energy reasons, they are doing this. So, of why. It is, yeah, yep.
A lot of this this was designed so people didn't buy a heat pump to have air conditioning, and then they would get the rebate. That's sort of where it was with Efficiency Maine. They didn't want you to put in one heat pump for air conditioning and get the rebate if you weren't using it to heat your home. That's from the very beginning of this program. They were worried about people using their heat pumps just for air conditioning, which unfortunately they save a lot of energy as air conditioners because they're 2 or 3 times more efficient than a window air conditioner. What else was I going to say? I guess the heat pump installers, and there's some really good installers right here in Camden, but they're going to explain almost all of this to the customer.
Yeah.
And but it's good that we know it.
Yeah. But I think that is as we come up with this list of all the different scripts we might need or responses we might need, certainly that would be a good one to have a script on. And also keep in mind, these rebate levels, you don't really get a rebate on your 4th or 5th heat pump. So there could be a case where it's a large home that it might make sense, because there might be a cost trade-off for them. Like if the rebate is only $1,000 per rebate eligible unit for a higher income home and they want to get a multi-zone system, they might choose to do that for their own reasons. But I would say, yeah, definitely worth asking the contractors the technical reasons for why the 1-to-1 is preferenced right now.
A lot of examples with a single floor range with a single unit. A simple 2-floor cape, you can have a single outside compressor and an up and down exchanger.
Mm-hmm.
We have a house, my parents have a house that each compressor has 3 units and it's used for heating. And that's because the layout of the house is you can't put one single big unit and carry it through the house. So
yeah.
And at the time, it would have been 3 times as expensive to put in 6 compressors and 6
yeah.
beds. So
I think it's worth asking. When I personally went through this process, I started out thinking I would do a multi-zone, and I went to a heat pump conference and I talked to all of the distributors, and I went back and forth between all of them and asked questions, and I asked them, and then I asked contractors, and I walked away, and this was a couple of years ago, but believing that I should do 1-to-1 after hearing about how they're kind of managing load. So I wish I had the technical answer, but yeah.
Site, it says the advantages of single zone systems include lower operating costs, better comfort, because they can run different modes simultaneously, and only heat the rooms that need it, and backup in that one heat pump will continue to operate if the other one needs service. Anyway, so that's what they say on their website, and it confirms that only
3 times as more expensive.
Yeah.
3 more compressors.
That's what we put in, and we got a rebate, so we got in the window, I guess.
Yeah.
I've had that conversation a lot with Efficiency Maine. When you go into an older house, like right here in Camden, we have a lot of houses with old air handler oil hot air systems. You know, it's great if you can take a mid-static heat pump air handler and plug it right into that system. It's not always possible because of the ductwork, but I think those are wonderful. You know, you have one big unit in the basement, and the heat goes out to the rooms. You don't have to install a bunch of wall heads all around the building. You've already got a lot of the ductwork is already there. But efficiency main doesn't, you know, they say that, well, they're not very efficient. Well, you know, at 25 degrees, they're going to have a COP of two or 3, which is way better than electric heat. So, yes, they are efficient.
The old flue systems that are in most houses in Maine are someplace between lousy and shitty. They're incredibly inefficient. They leak the heat into areas that you don't want heated. They're sized inappropriately, so you have high resistance, so the heat load isn't balanced. And you really have to start re-flue the whole thing. That's part of why the oil furnaces are so inefficient, because they're attached to really horrible ducted systems.
We're not going to question the efficiency main rationale because it is what it is. We're going to try and focus just on working with whatever they've laid out and try and convey that to the homeowners.
Thanks. But yeah, and as you can see, this is going to come up. This is going to be a question people have. So, agree it is, a question we'll need to think about. All right. We talked about that, and we talked about the sizing requirements. Okay. So, a little bit more nuance here. What is 80% of a home's heating load? How do you decide what that is and how many heat pumps you should have? So there's actually 3 approved methods for doing that, and you might get different results with different numbers. And this is where people might start to get apples and oranges quotes, because different contractors might come up with a different answer of the heating capacity, so that the BTU you need for this home. So there's 3 methods. There's a number of approved softwares. Manual J would be an example of an HVAC software to calculate the heating load needs. It has a lot of detailed inputs. Efficiency Main has their own heat load estimator. And you can use this kind of back of the envelope rule of thumb method called the square footage method, which is about 20 BTU per hour per square foot of the area. So when Scott Libby was here, he was talking about how you can have very different results depending on the home's weatherization or insulation. And so depending on what method a contractor uses, they could end up suggesting an oversized system or an undersized system. So from what we've gleaned from Scott and others, we want to try to encourage clients to ask for a heat load calculation. If a contractor, it doesn't mean that don't work with that contractor. It might mean, hey, how did you estimate that for me? How did you get to 60,000 BTU of heat pumps? How did you get to the 20,000 unit here or the 12,000 unit over here? To let them know, a contractor could be saying, well, it's like 20 BTU per square foot. So if someone hears that, they might say, interesting, could you do a heat load calculation for me? So this is something, not everyone will do this, but to help people really compare their estimates and know if they're getting their heat pump sized the right way for their home, might want to encourage people to ask for one of these other methods besides the square footage method. And others might have other thoughts on that, but that's kind of personally where I kind of netted out after hearing these methods.
Would it be possible that contractors are going to say, you want the heat load calculation, that's going to cost you another X dollars, right?
I don't think, I haven't heard, it's possible, but I don't think generally people are charging for estimates. They might say, I think it might be more likely you get an answer that's like, oh, you don't need that because of X, Y, Z or something like that. But I would keep, if you're getting 3 quotes, like hopefully get one that, they could ask in advance, like, how do you estimate it? Will you do a heat load calculation for me in some way? Other questions, thoughts on this one? And this will be something like if you're in the position of helping people weigh different quotes, you might want to know as well, like what was the number? What is the BTU heating load that your house needs? And look at what might be under and over that and why. And it might be under and over that for different, it might be that the answer for your whole home is 60,000 BTU, but that doesn't solve all your distribution issues. So it might not be terrible if things don't add up perfectly for that. It might be, done for distribution reasons. All right, moving on, there is currently a special program for putting ducted heat pumps in single-wide mobile homes. Which I think, per the census, I think a good 10% of homes in Camden and Rockport might be, mobile homes and manufactured home. We do have them, and hopefully we'll have the opportunity to work with owners of these homes. So it's for those who currently heat with propane or kerosene, and an enhanced rebate to put a ducted heat pump system in. And the program can also remove oil, propane, or kerosene tanks. So kind of a niche program, but just wanted you to know about that. And this is the one program that the income limits are a little bit higher. People with incomes less than 80% of the county median, which is higher than other thresholds, can qualify, and you don't need to be enrolled in state programs. You can go through a separate income verification process. And so the idea is that it's financed, it's compensated such that the homeowner pays about $2,000 toward the project. Okay, any questions about the insulation and heat pump rebates before we move to heat pump water heaters?
Just, is that a fully funded program? I mean, is it a waiting list or anything like that? Because that's amazing.
Yeah, I don't know about the waiting list or,
Thank you. As I understand it, Efficiency Maine made the special program for single wides, and they do have funding for it. And it started up very recently, and they chose to do this rather than other things, so it's got its funding pretty much, yeah.
We are just so grateful for Anna for investigating and calling everyone. She's been amazing.
Are there any year requirements on single wides and double wides?
Oh, good question. Year built. I think there might be because I don't know if it's 1979 or I think there's some age that might be relevant. We can look into that.
Is it similar to lending, usually like a 20-year on a single or, okay.
Yeah, let's look into this. Okay. Growing list of great questions for all these details. So heat pump water heaters are totally different discount system. It is called an instant discount, which isn't always instant, but it's the same discount for everyone. It can be an instant discount in-store or through a distributor or installer using a coupon code you can get. Or it can be a mail-in rebate if you purchase the heat pump water heater online or through, I don't know why that says contractors. Purchases, I think, through contractors. So it's over $1,000 discount for the heat pump water heaters. However, this is really the equipment rebate. There isn't a rebate or incentive for installation. So basically, the $1,050 is meant to get the price of the equipment pretty much completely on par with either electric resistance tank or propane or gas resistance tank. However, there's still installation costs for electrical or plumbing work, and you pretty much always need electrical work because it's a heat pump and it needs a refrigerant line work, and you do need a licensed electrician for that. And then we're still trying to gather installation costs, but it seems like, at least $400 or so for installation. So equipment costs are on par, meant to be equivalent, but you have to cover the installation. So different ways to get these discounts. Home Depot and Lowe's have them for all eligible models, and it's pretty easy to find them online and see what models are eligible. Plumbers can get an instant discount through their distributor, so customers would get kind of that automatic discount. If you don't get the instant discount in store and say buy online or something, you can get the mail-in rebate. And then there's two distributors, Granite Group and Selco, who are selling the units for either $349 or $399, which is the same or maybe a little less than what it would be through these other channels with instant discount.
The only heat pump hot water heaters are great, but there's one thing that people need to watch out for, and that's that they have a core, like a rod inside. And I think it's A.O. Smith, where you actually literally have to take the heat pump off the heat. You've got to get that rod out, and a lot of times it's very difficult because low ceilings. But I do know that's an issue with plumbers, is they install them and then they have to come back. If you have a lot of minerals or sulfur in your water, that could be a non-starter for a heat pump hot water heater. If you have a lot of minerals in your water, because it's really expensive to take that thing apart.
I kind of a follow-up question to that, and a lot of the people that we're going to be trying to help are on the Cameron or with Maine Water, and I don't know. I mean, I think we've had hot water heaters in our house that I don't think we ever changed the anode rod in, and so that would maybe not be an issue for most people. I'm not sure, but it's definitely something we should.
Oh, you mean the water quality is
Maine water,
good.
like the town water in Camden and Rockport.
I have a water heater, heat pump water that was put in 2015, and I have a trouble light right now that tells me I have to replace the anode. And it's in Camden on town water. 10 years.
Thank you. So, just wondering if that means that if you have a heat pump hot water heater, you should, and you have an issue with minerals in the water, you should have a water softener, which might fix that problem? Okay. I have one.
Can I just say that they talk, when you're installing it, they say, your ceiling should be 6 feet tall if you're going to do it. Does that solve that problem? Because it's a whole different thing. Okay.
So we live in Maine, here in Camden, and we did have a failure of our anode, which caused the hot water heater, which was electric, to fail, rust out. And of course it happened while we had renters in the house, which meant that they wanted a complete rebate on their rent, and they moved out because their son's bathtub had rusty water in it.
there are a lot of potential concerns and siting issues with the heat pump water heaters. We will get into that more, before we're out talking with folks, but we probably don't want to spend too much more time on all of those intricacies tonight, because there are a lot of them. It's not a simple, one-to-one switch out from electric resistance to the heat pump ones.
All right.
Real quick, the anodes to prevent corrosion and rust has nothing to do with hard water or not. They're two different problems, and both can be a problem, but they're different.
All right, so just a little bit more, and this is on Efficiency Maine's website. For Lowe's and Home Depot, the instant rebate appears to be in-store only to get it to be instant. Otherwise, if you buy online, you pay and then mail Efficiency Maine the rebate form. Another thing that might come up is Lowe's and Home Depot in general are offering a lot more installation services for a range of equipment. And it looks like when I was online the other day, they might be offering to install, and these are paid services. It would be paying them to install. And, it might look like a compelling thing to go with them. It's all in one. I don't think we know yet who those installers are, the quality. So I don't want to advise for or against, but just know that's a thing people might face and have a question about who to install it. Something to keep your ears open as well. If you hear someone who got a heat pump water heater and installed through Lowe's or Home Depot services, we'd love to hear what that was like and what the cost was. All right. You guys, we're actually doing really well, and I'm really impressed that we've gotten through so much of this. So amazing. Okay, this is going to be short because we don't have all the details filled in yet. So what we're trying to do, ideally, and maybe numbers are subject to verification, is get everyone a table like this of what real life costs have been after rebates and incentives for the various things people might be considering. So ideally, we'd kind of say, what is the range of some of these home repair costs? What is the range of insulation that people are actually paying? What are people actually paying for mini splits and heat pump water heaters? We don't have these numbers yet, but we're developing a survey to share among us, among our friends and family, to try to get some local estimates. That's in development. Marina, when that survey is ready, we'll fill that out for you to fill out and hopefully share with friends, and then we'll start to compile that and hopefully fill on our own table.
We're also collaborating with folks around the state and getting it out through some organizational newsletters. So we're hopefully going to get a pretty big pool of folks so the numbers are credible.
Yeah, so similar, we'd be looking for estimates just to keep your ears open for service panel upgrade, solar PV, and battery storage. So we have kind of a complete set of ranges for what you might be talking to people about. So, okay, this might be one of our last slides here. We wanted to talk a little bit about loan offerings. We haven't done a lot of investigation into this, but Anna found some. So Efficiency Maine does have home energy loans through their Green Bank to help pay for heat pump and weatherization. Like their rebates, the cost of related upgrades and repairs can be included for up to 25% of a loan. So if folks had to pay for repairs or wiring or things like that, it could also be partially covered by the loan. To get the loan, the upgrades must be installed through one of the registered vendors, similar to getting a rebate, and the financed amount will be dispersed to the registered vendor. So on the right, you see the current loan rates, which might change, so worth checking the website. For low and moderate income homes, and I think moderate is included here. It's a 10-year loan at about 6%. And then for other incomes, the loan term would vary based on the term of the loan. 0% has an origination fee. Anna, anything you wanted to add about this?
The origination fee is only for the 1-year loan at 0 interest.
Mm-hmm.
The others don't have a lot of fees.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not, I mean, if you're getting like a 10-year loan, the home equity loan might be better terms than that. And we don't know the criteria for credit rating and stuff.
Yeah, that would all be.
Could you reiterate what we can't hear that at all? So if you
Oh.
like important points.
Can I just say, as a solar installer and a heat pump installer, there are some energy efficiency loans, and some of my customers have just said, well, it was actually cheaper for me to just go to a bank and get a loan, and I appreciated that because as an installer, there's all these rules, like you don't just get paid, you have to wait, you have to fill out a lot of paperwork. It's basically a pain in the neck for the installer. So in some instances, it might be just as easy to go to a bank and get a home, a equity loan.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. That's really helpful. Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was just saying. But for low income, it might be worth it because it's a lower rate. And I don't know how it works through Efficiency Main, but in terms of waiting for the contractor, whatever.
Yeah. Helpful to know it could affect the timeline. And then solar loans, Ray, you could probably say a lot here as well. There's a number of structures. Many solar installers do offer financing through partners. Loan terms and payment terms might vary. It seems like many are in the range of a 12-year loan period, and I'm talking about the things on the right. And then Anna learned from Revision Energy that they're working with a clean energy credit union to give discounted loan rates to income-eligible people. Love any other information folks have on this.
Just that if you get a loan like that, you'll be working through the solar installers have different agreements with different loan companies, and this one seems like an especially good one, and the others are kind of, you can't tell how good they are.
Paul.
I think it's important to point out, though, as you say, on the right, with solar particularly, that basically the amount of money they have to disperse on a monthly basis will not increase by putting in the solar because, according to them, the loan terms are designed to make payments equivalent to their monthly CMP payments.
So the idea is
so for those 12 years or whatever, you're paying the same, and then after that you own it. So.
Are you going to cover leases?
No. Do you want to say something about that?
I'll just mention it briefly. We'll get you more information on solar leases next year. They're just starting to be a thing in Maine, and so you will be getting questions about them, and we will be getting you more information. That's where a company comes in and installs them. The homeowner pays the company, but gets, some benefits back. But there's not the same kind of equity that you get by owning your own panels. And it can be a major complication for the homeowner because it's a 25-year lease that if you want to sell the place, it carries with the deed and can complicate your sale prospects.
I've seen solar as a real value to the homeowner, in that when they sell their home, I mean, you're buying a house with basically no electric bills. And, you know, it really makes a difference when you're selling a home with solar. And another thing is, you don't have to, a lot of customers come to me and they say, well, you know, I want to cover all my electric bill, my electric rate. You don't really want to do that, because if you make more, say you make more, like this summer we didn't have any rain, so we had a lot of sun. You're not going to get anything back from CMP if you make more than you use. So you don't want to make more than you use. And a small system is a small system. I mean, for $10,000, you can put a couple of panels up and some microinverters, and cover sometimes a pretty good percentage of your usage. And it's cheap. You can put it up there. You can put it on the maximum exposure roof, because you might not have great exposure all over your roof, but you might have one spot that's really good. You don't have to do your whole home to make it worthwhile. And I could say that about heat pumps too. I've done heat pumps where I put in a heat pump in a house, brand new house, and then they put electric heat in all the rooms that didn't need, that they weren't in, you know, like the guest room. You're not in the guest room, you know. It's nice to have electric heat in the bathroom and not turn on a heat pump to heat your whole house in the spring or the fall. There's all these combinations that really make a lot of sense to me, anyway.
Yeah, just a note on overproducing electricity with solar. They won't pay you for anything extra, but I'm pretty sure that you can choose a separate account. So like say, you know, I create too much energy over what I use, I could credit, say, my parents' house and take it off their bill.
Yeah, they don't, in my experience, they didn't advertise that program widely. You need to go in search of it.
We did do that with our kids, and they're all the way in Portland or down that way. So we were able to split our extra solar power. I wanted to ask you, could you give us a sense of what kind of increased value there might be for that the solar panels would, if we're producing approximately what we're using, how do we factor that into our increased value of the house?
I'm not sure any of us want to tackle that. We might, I mean, that might be something that in terms of the costs survey that, you know, we could ask for that data at some point, but that's going to be, I think, beyond the scope of anyone to estimate at this point without doing more research.
We are very magically at the end. We went through every single slide. Amazing. And we met our time limit. So,
So we've gone through multiple programs. How are these programs funded? Is it all state? Is it part federal? And how do we look for 2026 for funding?
There's different funding sources for different efficiency main rebates. It goes through the state, and the state allocates the funding, but some money is still coming from federal sources, and I don't have the details on exactly all the funding sources. The efficiency main annual reports have all the funding sources for all of these programs, and we'll be looking out for changes in 2026. But I would point to the annual reports to understand all of their funding sources. But good questions. And I mean, sign up for their newsletters if you want for updates, but we'll try to look out for it.
So Lease Solar, I came out of Boulder. So in the western region, Sunrun's the largest player. The VP of Ops used to be my boss, so I know a lot about it. That deal is basically a 20-year lease. Generally, they install for free and guarantee the panels. You may pass that lease on to if you're the homeowner, to the people who buy the house, or pay it off. You generally pay, essentially, if you took your $20,000 to put the panels on, and I'm talking about 20 panels plus, that's basically a monthly cost of about $100. Sunrun takes the federal write-offs, so you can't write it off. But basically, you can put solar on your house, you get more than $100 back in savings, and it's kind of it's a win-win situation if you're comfortable, one, that your roof is good because it's going to go on for 20 years, but two, that you will have panels on your house and it'll be a 20-year lease, and that if you sell your house, there may be complications.
Great.
But it's a good deal if it comes here, because it basically enables people with no money to get solar panels.
Well, let's look out for it. And I think it sounds like you're monitoring it. So thank you for that. I'm sensing that we just had one person leave, and I know there's some food back there. I want to wrap up, but we're kind of in an amazing position for maybe a picture, if there might be an opportunity to take a picture. Are we able to, could I take a picture or?